Hello friends, it's Aubrey. This is Crybaby Sonal Homestead, and today I want to wish you a very happy Veterans Day and to really do a shout out and a thank you to our veterans in every branch of the military, and thank you for supporting our country and doing what the hard work that it takes to keep our country safe. As an Army brat, so those of you who are new to my channel, I did grow up mostly on Army bases throughout the world as a child. And so I have kind of a different perspective on patriotism and national pride than a lot of people. But Army brats like me, and actually as a kid, I've said this before in another video, I'm sure, but as a kid, when someone called me an Army brat, it really bothered me because I was like, I am not a brat. But honestly, nowadays I don't even care because I kind of wear that title with pride that I was an Army brat from the time I was like 2 years old to the time I was 16. So I spent 14 years of my life usually living on army bases throughout the world. So I lived like in Fort Greely, Alaska, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I lived in a small German town when my dad was stationed in Kaiserslautern, in Germany. So we've been to many different places. I used to live in Army airfield in Hawaii. So I've lived all over the world, from California, Fort Ord, and Fort Hunter Liggett in California. So I've been all over the place, and I've been to over a dozen schools. So I've been to over a dozen schools. I've attended public schools, of course, private schools. I've gone to DOD schools. Now they're DODEA schools. And so that's how I grew up, is in a military family. And a lot of my friends who had military parents grew up to join the military. And I remember in high school, I took the ASVAB and was thinking about joining, but then I realized that I really don't like being told what to do. So I became a teacher so I could tell people what to do. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. That's not why I became a teacher. But I really want to say thank you to the people who serve our country. And I know that our nation does not show enough appreciation of our armed forces. And I want to tell you that I really, really do. There are a lot of people who have, like, and I live in Washington State, and we have some people who really don't respect the military, and basically think it's like a, like warmongering or something like that. And in fact, it's like the opposite. By having a really strong military, you don't have to use it as often because you are not, you have that safety of having that strong military that nobody wants to mess with. So I really want to thank our military for standing strong and for serving us. And for those people who don't really appreciate our military, I want to talk to you just for a second. So our armed forces, the people who are joining up, and there's some of them are signing up when they're 17 years old. And, my stepdad actually joined when he was 17. So from the time he was a very young man, he served our country, and he was about to be shipped off to Desert Storm right the morning of. He was all packed up and ready to go when that conflict ended. And unfortunately, it just never really went away. So, a long history in my family of people serving. My grandfather served, and he actually was injured. He hurt his leg, not in battle, but in his service. And I remember him having to crawl up the stairs when he was older. Like, the arthritis really sets into those injuries when you're older. So I really I appreciate that. And a lot of my friends have seen conflict, and their hearts and minds have been touched by that conflict, and they need our love and appreciation for the terrible things that they've had to do and the terrible things that they've had to see and experience. And we need to appreciate that we have heroes who are willing to do that work for us. I know it's like I'm too tender-hearted, and to a fault, to a fault. And we need people who have strong hearts, who can do what's right, even when it's difficult. And for those people who are, concerned and think that anyone who joins the military is a warmonger, no one joins the military to murder. They join the military to protect. They want to keep us safe. They want to do the right thing. They want to make a difference in the world. And we need to pray for our politicians that they make good choices, wise choices that are truly decisions that are necessary and not to benefit their friends who own major, corporations that sell the weapons and all that kind of stuff. So, there's corruption in the world. So we just pray for the politicians to make the right decisions when they're determining whether or not to send our young men and women off to war zones. But really, what would the United States be like without a military? I can tell you what, we would be oppressed. We would not be the world leader that we are today. So those young men and women who are serving every day, who are breaking their backs and, causing irreparable harm to their bodies in order to be, they basically are tools. Like they are using their bodies as tools to protect our country. So some of them come back disfigured, without all their limbs, suffering mentally and emotionally from the things that they've had to see and the things that they've had to do in service to us. We should, I just think it's crazy when anybody, like right now I'm in Olympia and I'll show you this beautiful view I have. Look at that beautiful view. Isn't that gorgeous? And you might see some aquatic birds out there. They're just like, it's raining, it's Washington, who cares, it's all good. I'll see if I can get a picture of, or at least an image of the Capitol, the Olympia Capitol in a moment, show you off that beautiful building. But we wouldn't have this. This wouldn't be where we live. If we didn't have a military, we would live in oppression if we existed at all. So, the people who are willing to do that work in service to us, the voters and the citizens, they are incredible. And not everybody can hack it. I know I personally couldn't. I took the ASVAB and I was like, I'm gonna go do this, and then I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this because I can't be told what to do. Like, I mentally only I have a very short capacity for being bossed around. So, and I remember seeing how like the family dynamics were impacted by the young men. You have to follow orders, and yeah, it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be able to swallow your pride and be obedient and compliant, because our military has to work in unison. It has to work like it's choreographed. It has to work like a machine, even though we're all human beings with souls and hearts and our minds of our own and our own concepts of what we should be doing. So they have to trust that the leaders will make good decisions for them. So we really need to push our politicians to make decisions that reflect the values of our nation, and not to use our young men and women in a way that is detrimental to them without having a really good reason. So remember that when our people come back from conflict, that we show support for them, and that we respect them and value the contributions that they're making and the sacrifices that they and their families are making on a daily basis. It was very difficult at times growing up on military bases. We would be gone for 3 years at a time, 2 to 3 years at a time, out of state, away from our families. And sometimes we'd be there, and then my dad would be deployed somewhere else for up to 6 months, or he'd be out in the field, or he'd be on night duty. And so there are all these different times where he wasn't able to be to be home with us. And so that's something to think about. that these families are also giving up a lot too. They're giving up, sometimes they're giving up their homes, their extended family, and even like my family, my mom and my stepdad. I had custody of me, but my dad had custody of my brother, so we were separated, me and my older brother, and so that was very, very difficult, being away from my dad and my brother and my grandparents and my friends who I knew here in Washington State, and living all around the world. But it's mostly good. And I want to say how grateful I am. And I've learned so much from the places that I've lived and the experiences that I've experienced, and all that stuff. I don't think I'd be the person I am today if my dad, my stepdad, I have two dads. Stepdad doesn't quite cut it. He like stepped in, right? He raised me. So I want to thank you, Dad. Thank you for supporting me when my biological father wasn't able to. And thank you to my friends who have served the military, multiple branches of the military, and various places from infantry to all the way up through leadership. And you've done an amazing work and have contributed to our freedom. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the next video. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, comment below which branch, I'm not going to say, don't compete, which branch of the military is the best. They're all amazing. Anyway, if you want to say a thank you to a veteran, go ahead and do that in the comments. Bye, everybody. I'll see you next time.